Good morning, everyone. This is a yoga practice to help you start your day feeling grounded and calm. It's so common, I think, to wake up in the morning with the mind already anxious, already busy. Perhaps we're thinking about all of the things that we have ahead of us that day or that week. And so this practice is designed just to bring some of that energy away from the mind and down into the legs and down towards the earth so that we can feel both calm and relaxed. So you might find it helpful to have a blanket and a couple of bricks or something similar to bricks, but you might not need those things. But sometimes it's helpful just to have it nearby, so it's there if you want it. And we're going to start today in Tadasana, so mountain pose. So you can stand either with your outer edges of big toes touching, a little bit of space between the heels, or with the feet parallel. This is the position I'm going to take today. So just see what feels most comfortable for the pelvis, and then let the hands just rest down by the side, ever so lightly turning the palms to face forward. So that's just a very small movement to help open through the collarbones. And then if you're ready and comfortable to do so, you can close your eyes and just arrive on your mat. And just checking in with how your body feels this morning. You may be feeling a little bit stiff or tired or cold or achy. If you're practicing at the end of the day, perhaps the aches and pains are a little bit different. Maybe if you've had to sit, you haven't had the chance to move very much today. If you're feeling a bit mentally fatigued and wired at the same time. And from this standing position, just see how it would be to bring more length through your body. So press evenly down into the four corners of the feet. So that's the inner and outer heel and the inner and outer ball of the foot. You could also just to try lift and spread your toes for a moment. This will start to wake up the inner arch of your foot. And as you feel that inner arch begin to lift and awaken, just let the toes lower back down. But keep that sense of engagement through the inner arch. And feel that inner arch travels all the way up the inside of the leg. So the legs start to become a little more steady. Tailbone is dropping towards the earth as your breastbone begins to rise towards the sky. So we're getting more length through the spine. Crown of the head extending up. And again, breathe. Beginning to stand with more awareness. So using the yoga practice to really connect with your sensations. You're not trying to run away from whatever it is that you're feeling. You're not trying to avoid your feelings or distract yourself, but just notice. So that might be how the body is feeling, but also maybe how your mind, your heart are feeling. And just breathing into it, breathing however is most comfortable. So that might be through the nose or in through the nose and out through the mouth. Feeling that sense of your feet lightly pressing into the mat, crown of the head extending to the sky. Bringing some awareness into the tips of the fingers, the thumbs. And then you're welcome to keep your eyes closed. If you want to open them now, just do that very softly so the eyes just flutter open. And then use your inhale, bring the arms up and overhead, taking hold of the right hand with the left, and as you exhale, taking that stretch towards the left. So try and keep your hips really steady here, so you're not swinging the hips too far out, but there's a sense of actually lifting from the hips, lifting all the way up through this right sideways. Breathing. Perhaps one more breath. And then using your inhale to come back to center. And as you exhale, let just the right arm come down towards the side. Left arm stays reaching to the ceiling. You might imagine you're holding onto a bar onto the ceiling here with that left hand. And now allow your right ear to drop towards the right shoulder. And imagine you're carrying a really heavy bag of shopping in that right hand. So it starts to pull you down towards the floor. So this right side is now becoming a little bit compressed and the left side is becoming lengthened. This is too strong for your neck. You can keep your head just lightly lifted. But keep that sensation of heaviness coming through that right side. That heavy bag of shopping pulling you down towards the floor. Breathe. Now keep holding on to that imaginary bar on the ceiling, and then imagine you're pulling that bar down with your left hand. So as you inhale, you pull yourself up. Exhale, relax that left arm. Just take a moment just to stand. You might notice that left arm feels longer than the right. I think I can see on the camera that my left arm certainly looks a lot longer. So we'll take those two stretches to the other side. So let's inhale, bring the arms up and overhead. Taking the left hand this time with the right, and exhale, taking that side stretch through that left body. Lifting up from your left hip, lengthening through your left armpit. Looking straight ahead, or if you prefer, turning your chin towards that left armpit if that's more comfortable for you. Both feet staying steady on the floor, so being careful not to lean too much towards the right. Breathing into your left rib cage. And then using that inhale, come back to center, keeping that right arm lifted. Exhale, let that left arm come down. This time holding the bag of shopping in that left hand, holding that bar on the right side, letting your left ear drop to the left shoulder, and then letting that heavy bag of shopping pull you down towards the floor. Again, if it's too strong for your neck, this is a really deep stretch for the side of the neck. And just keep your head lightly lifted. But also just stay with the sensation, so just breathe into it. If you sleep on your side, this is a really great stretch to do, particularly in the morning. Opening up the side body so that we can really find that space for the breath. Feeling that bag of shopping get a little bit heavier. And then holding on to that bar, imaginary bar on the ceiling, and then pulling that bar down as if you're pulling yourself up and relaxing the right arm. And then just stand for a moment and just feel the changes in the body, changes in your breath. And then from here, we're going to come into a very soft forward fold. So we're very used to doing this with straight legs and straight spine, but today we're doing the opposite. You can put a soft bend in your knees and then allow your chin to drop towards your chest. So this begins to stretch the back of your neck, and then you're going to allow the weight of the head to begin to pull you forward. You can do this really slowly, and you don't have to come very far. So even if your hands are above your knees, like mine are right now, this is a good stretch for the upper part of the spine. If you go lower, then you start to stretch the lower part of the spine. We're going to do this movement a couple of times. You don't need to feel that you have to do it all in this first round. So arms just hanging heavy, knees are a little bit bent, head is heavy. So we're looking for that deep flexion of the spine.
We'll just hold here. You might find that the longer you're in it, the further down you want to go. And you're very welcome to explore that. But not being in a hurry, so you're not trying to get anywhere. You're just staying aware of that feeling of the stretch coming through the back of your body, particularly the spine. And let's come back to the breath. Let's think about the shape of the breath a little bit here. Can you come back to breathing in and slowly breathing out? Emptying the lungs on the out breath, filling them on the in breath, and emptying on the out breath. Now from this position, wherever your hands are, in relation to your legs, you're going to take a little twist towards the right. Now make sure that your knees haven't twisted. So you want your knees to stay pointing forward, particularly that left knee. That left knee will want to turn towards the right. Don't let it. Instead, draw your left hip back. It's like your left hip is resisting the twist. So the movement is really coming from the side body and the waist. Breathe. Slowly come back to center. And exhale, let's take that to the other side. Keeping that right hip drawing back. Both knees point directly forward. Arms are heavy, head is heavy. Slow breath in. Long breath out. Inhale to come back to center. Exhale here. And then press really firmly into your feet as you slowly come up. Keep the knees bent. Keep pressing the feet into the floor. And let your head be the last thing that comes up. So you're just peeling up through the vertebrae one by one until your head comes up. You might just circle the shoulders a few times here. Wonderful stretch, that one to do first thing in the morning for your spine. If you just did one thing in the morning, that stretch we just did would be wonderful. So I'm going to step back a little bit so hopefully you can see my arms in this next position. Staying standing, feet hip distance apart this time. We're going to inhale and bring the arms up overhead. Now you don't want your palms to touch. If your shoulders are feeling a bit tight, you can take the arms as wide as you like. And we're aiming to keep the shoulders from the ears. So if you notice the shoulders jump up, just pull the shoulders down, make that conscious effort, draw the shoulder blades down. And as I said, you feel free to take the arms wider. Imagine you're holding something between your hands, like a big beach ball. So you've got that sense of firmness in the palms of the hands. And then as you inhale, reach up through the little fingers. So feel that length coming through the armpit, through the rib cage. And you want to avoid in this position arching forward. So feel that the tailbone is still dropping back, breastbone is still reaching up. Looking straight ahead, but with soft eyes. Notice if you start to glare at whatever's in front of you. And see if you can soften the eyes, soften the forehead. And again, breathe. Breathe in slowly. Long exhale. And stay with this sensation. Of course, the arms start to get tired here. The heart has to work really hard to get the blood all the way up to the fingertips. If you do feel dizzy, please bring the hands back down. Others, we're going to try and stay here for just 3 more breaths. So we'll count that as 1. Slow breath in. Long breath out. 2. And then 1 more inhale. And then slowly on that exhale, allow the arms just to come down, and again just let them hang for a moment. You might put a soft bend in the knees and take a gentle twist from side to side. And I'll step my feet a little bit wider to do that. And then we're going to turn till we're facing the narrow edge of the mat. Coming towards the top end of the mat, feet about hip distance apart, maybe slightly wider, and then taking a short step back with that left foot. So it doesn't need to be a really long, we're not going for a really long lunge-like step, we're just taking a short step. Both of your hips are still facing directly forward. So if your hips were like car headlights, you'd be beaming straight ahead in a parallel line. And then bring the hands behind the back. So if you're comfortable bringing the palms together, you can explore that, or you might feel more comfortable just holding onto the forearms. This time we want to keep both legs straight. The only exception is if you tend to hyperextend this front knee, so the knee pushes back, and you're going to put a soft bend into the knee. This is a soft bend, not this. Becomes a lunge. So we just want that soft bend in the knee if you feel that's going to be safer for your knee. Take a breath in, feel that length coming from your belly button to your throat. And then as you breathe out, begin to fold forwards. This time we're keeping the spine straight. So earlier we were dropping the head and rounding the spine. This time keep the head lightly lifted as if you were holding a tennis ball between your chin and your chest. And folding forward. And it's not about how low you can go. You want to think about drawing that right hip back, left hip forward. So your belly button moves in the direction of your right thigh. Make sure that your arms aren't a dead weight on your back, so a light lift through the elbows. Slow breath in, long breath out. So sometimes these standing poses can require some energy. If you start to feel tired, just breathe more deeply, slowly. Waking up the legs, getting the blood flowing down into the feet, taking some of the energy out of the head into the body. We'll have 1 more breath. And then you might want to bend that front knee a little bit more deeply, press into your back foot, and as you inhale, slowly come up. Release the arms. And then pivot on your heels. So you're just simply going to turn now to face the back of the mat. Now as you do this, your hips will suddenly feel very narrow. So you want to step the feet a little bit wide as if you were standing on skis. So you've got those car headlights again, this time pointing to the other side of the mat. Bring the hands behind the back. So again, you take prayer position, namaste hands behind the shoulder blades. If you prefer to hold the arms, which is what I'm doing today, you can also do that. You might want to change the grip of the hand so you have a different arm on top. Again, you're welcome to have that soft bend in that front leg. Take the inhale, lengthen through the spine. Feel all the length through the front of the body. And then exhale, begin to fold. Come down nice and slowly. So you might have this tiny bend in this front knee, but apart from that, everything's straight. The back leg is straight. You're pressing a little bit into that back heel. Spine is straight. And you're drawing your left hip back. So right hip comes forward slightly. And abdomen turns a little bit to that thigh. A light lift with your elbows so you can feel the collarbones getting longer. Slow breath in. And a slow breath out. Back of the neck is long, so you're holding that imaginary apple or tennis ball between chin and chest. Stay with it. Nearly there. We'll have one more breath in. Bending that front knee a little more deeply. As you exhale, push yourself back up. Press into this back heel as you do so. Come up to standing. We're going to turn the feet now, both feet to face the long edge of the mat. Relax the arms. Well done, everyone. Step the feet closer together. And then turning to face towards the front of your mat. So if you've got a blanket and bricks, you might need them for this next part. Before we do anything, we'll come back to our mountain pose. So you're standing with awareness, but it's also relaxed. We're not like being rigid in a mountain pose. We have that sense of the shoulders dropping, tailbone dropping, ribcage soft, eyes are soft. Maybe even the eyes are closed for a few moments. As you breathe here, and just notice how your body feels. Hopefully you can feel your legs more. So we've worked the muscles quite hard. So you've got that feeling of blood and oxygen moving through the legs, the feeling of the prana, the life force. So getting more integrated in the whole body. And then if your eyes are closed, you're welcome to reopen them. As you inhale, we're going to let the arms float up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, let the arms come back down, softly bend your knees, and then diving forward. So you can let your bottom sink backwards as your chest reaches forward. So that sense of really diving forward, moving from the pelvis, coming back into your standing forward fold. So this time, your hands might be quite low to the floor, but we are keeping the legs bent. So we want to release any pressure from the lower back. We'll just hang heavy here. So you might have your fingertips or the backs of your hands grating the floor. You might hold the elbows. Take a few breaths. And then you can relax the hands down. Bend the knees as much as you need to so your hands are firmly on the floor. And then step back into an all fours position. So if you feel that your knees are a bit sensitive at the moment, do feel free to take a folded blanket, place them underneath the knees. Equally, you can do the same thing with your wrists. If your wrists are a bit sore, you can have a blanket under them, or you can fold the top of the mat. So the heel of your hands is on the mat and your fingertips are on the floor. So whatever's going to suit you best. And we're just starting with a flat back here. So back of the neck long. And there's a light lift of your belly towards your spine, not like pulling your tummy in, holding your breath, but just an engagement of the abdominal muscles. Then we're going to take a breath in. And as we breathe out, we're going to come into cat-cow. So as you breathe out, come up onto your fingertips. Walk the hands a little closer to the knees and round the spine. As you inhale, walk the hands forward again. Fingers spread wide. And come to that little arch of the spine, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, feeling the chest move forward. Exhaling, rounding the spine. So hands walk closer towards you, come onto the fingertips, relax the head. And then inhaling, bringing the hands forward. And coming into that gentle arch. And so you can just really move in the rhythm of your own breath. And if you find that you're in a point that you really like, that you're getting a really nice stretch, then feel free just to stay here, hang out for a few breaths. Just keep breathing. So you're trying to feel your spine, you're trying to feel the muscles either side of your spine. And at the end of your next exhale, we'll come back into that all fours position with a flat back. And we'll be stepping the right foot forward. Now, because of the stage I'm at in my pregnancy, I'm going to have both hands on the inside of this right foot, and I'm going to be using bricks for extra support. You're very welcome to have your hands either side of that front foot if that feels comfortable for you. And pregnant or not, the bricks can be really helpful. So we want to sink the pelvis forward and down. As this is a lunge, we're taking quite a big step. And it can be helpful to have some bricks here because you want to really feel that your chest is lifting, because we're coming back to that same cat-cow movement, but in a lunge. It can feel quite different doing it in this position. So when you're ready, take your breath in and then breathe out. Try and round the spine. It's a much smaller movement. And then as you inhale, you come back to that arching of the spine. Tailbone lifts, breastbone moves forward. Just explore how this feels. You might find there's that little rocking forward and backwards of your pelvis. So again, don't be too concerned with if you're doing things right or wrong. Just try and feel the body. Lunges at the best of times can be quite challenging. You might find having a little bit of movement in the lunge is actually helpful. Some of you might find it makes it more challenging. Whatever your experience is, just stay with it. Remember to breathe. So important, the breath. Helping us deal not only with challenging yoga postures, but challenging life situations. So maybe just take 2 or 3 more rounds. And then to come out of the lunge, it's helpful to bring your hands back towards the floor rather than on the blocks. Carefully step that right leg back to your all fours position. Take a moment here. You might notice that right side of your body, particularly that right thigh, hip and waist, feel a little bit different to the left. Let's take that onto the left side. So step that left foot forward into your long step, your lunge position, beginning to lift up through the chest, taking a breath in, and then rounding the spine as you breathe out. The lunges are a really good way to start to wake up the hips. It's really good to do for any runners or cyclists or walkers out there. And bringing this little spinal movement into the posture can also just help to free up the psoas muscle a little bit, one of the hip flexors, and create more space for the breath. So try and stay present to the movement and let your mind wander off, get too distracted. Think about what's happening in the spine, in the back of your body. And maybe just one more. you come back to a more neutral spine. Bringing your hands back down to the floor. Carefully taking that step back to all fours. Spreading your fingers nice and wide onto the mat. So make sure you've got a little bit of pressure coming down through the tips of the fingers. Tuck your toes under and come up and back into a downward dog. So you can step your feet wider than the hips, that's more comfortable. And you might like to keep a bend in your knees. So don't worry about straightening your legs, but think instead about getting length through the spine. And you could bend your right knee more deeply and start to lower that left heel to the floor. And then take a couple of breaths here. Keep your arms really firm, so engaging through the wrists, the elbows and the shoulders. Shoulder blades pulling away from the ears. And then bending that left knee, reaching the right heel to the floor. Stay with it, breathe. Keep pressing those fingertips into the floor. And then we're going to come down onto the hands and knees. And we'll sink back into a child's pose here. So if you've got a blanket under the knees, you're very welcome to move it. And you can do child's pose with your knees together. This will give you a deeper curve for the lumbar spine. It's not possible for me at the moment. So you also have the option of taking your knees wider apart, which will take the emphasis more into your hips and your lower back. So it's really just your personal choice. Folding yourself forward, either with the arms out in front, or if you prefer to have the hands down by your feet. And then if you can, have your forehead resting to the floor. If your forehead doesn't reach the floor, just put a blanket or your block there. Relax the shoulders. Breathe into the back of your body. Breathing out, relaxing the abdomen. And just taking a few more breaths. Of course, you can always stay here for longer. But if you're ready, we're going to just push ourselves up. So the hands come just in front of the knees. We push ourselves up a little bit. We're going to take a moment to come back onto all fours. Bricks might be useful. You're going to now tuck your toes under and sink your bottom back towards your heels. So we start to stretch and wake up the feet. So if you have tight feet and this feels intense, just stay here. If you feel like going a little bit deeper, you don't need to use the bricks, but sometimes the bricks can be helpful just to help you come and sit up. And you can come all the way up to your shoulders are over your hips. And you really remember that you have 2 feet and 10 toes. So we do this type of thing a lot in yoga, but if you haven't done this much in yoga, this can feel really intense. So please don't feel at all worried if you find it a bit much. Just back off, just come forward again. Whatever suits you best today. Remember to breathe. And then when you're ready to come out, if you're still here with me, well done. And now we will be coming out. So we'll all come forward again. And any props can just move to the side. Come back up onto the hands and knees, tops of the feet flat on the mat. And you can give them a little bash against the floor. Wake them up. And then it's your choice. You can either come back into downward dog or you can come back to the child's pose. So whatever's going to suit you best. at this stage of your practice. Whatever you're doing, whether it's a down dog or a child's pose, breathe. I know sometimes in these downward facing postures, it's not always so easy to breathe. So the breath might not be as long as when you were standing up, but that's okay. As long as you're breathing in and out. And then if you're not in child's pose, we'll all find our way there. So you might do the same child as you did before. You might explore something different. So knees can be together or apart. Arms can be in front or down by the feet. And we'll take just a few breaths here. And then to come out again, the hands come just in front of the knees as we push ourselves up. Inhaling as we come up. And then as we exhale, let's come to sit. So you might like to sit on a little bit of height. A folded blanket can be quite helpful. As you bring the soles of the feet together, have the heels just a comfortable distance away from the pelvis. No need to go really close to the body. Hands can rest wherever's comfortable. Take a moment or two to find a little bit of length through the spine. And we'll come into some gentle circling actions here. So when you're ready, begin to circle the chest forward. See if you can keep the rib cage parallel to the floor. And then circling back. It doesn't really matter which way you breathe. I tend to inhale as I come forward and exhale as I come back, but there's no exact science to that. The main thing is that you're breathing. You've got that sense of movement coming through the ribs. You might find your circles start to get big, or they might stay quite small. And then whenever you feel ready, you're going to just pause, find a good place to pause, and then stay back the other way. If your legs ever get uncomfortable in this type of position, you can always put some blocks just underneath the thighs or cushions, whatever you've got to hand. Always make sure the body feels supported. Feeling your pelvis on the floor. That gentle rotation of the spine into the pelvis. And then we're gradually going to come back up to sitting tall. You might feel that you're more comfortable staying sitting upright like this, particularly if you have any discomfort in the lower back. You might want to just keep the spine straight so that you're not rounding too much in that lower back. We've already done quite a lot of that today. So you've got the option to stay sitting here, or you can take your breath in, and as you breathe out, begin to come forward. And as you come forward, if your hands need to move towards your feet or even towards the floor, that's fine. You can keep your head lightly lifted. So again, imagine you've got that apple or tennis ball between chin and chest. Or if you enjoy that rounding of the spine, you can let your head become very heavy and drop towards your feet. So just pick what's right for your body at this particular moment. And whatever variation you're taking, see if you can breathe. Slow breath in, long breath out. Now, if your head's been hanging quite low, you're going to slowly begin to come up, uncurling through the spine so the head is the last to lift. If you've been quite straight with your spine, holding that imaginary apple, then you can come up in one straight line, all on the inhale. And then as you exhale, you can release the legs. Well done, everyone. So as this is perhaps your morning practice, you have two choices here. You can end lying in Shavasana, or you can end in a seated posture. So sometimes in the morning, if we haven't been out of bed for that long, we don't always feel that we need to lie back down towards the floor, but it's totally your choice. I'm going to stay sitting. So those of you that want to lie, just come and lie down. Make sure that you're warm and comfortable. Equally, if you're sitting, it's important to be comfortable. So you can sit cross-legged or kneeling, have some height underneath you. Bringing a little bit of length to the spine. You can even sit with your back against the wall. So you've got that support to lean against. And then you can close your eyes. And just let go of the breath. Let go of any effort with your body beyond the effort of sitting, if that's your chosen position. And we won't stay here for too long, particularly as it might be the morning, and of course it's very natural that you start to think about what's coming next. You've always got the option to pause this video and stay lying for longer. But if you can, let's see if we can just manage about 1 more minute of stillness. And so if your mind is wandering off, just coax it back to this moment. Plenty of time to be busy and distracted later, but let's, for now, just come back to our body. And you can make your way to sitting if you're not already there. And then we'll we'll use the inhale to bring both of the arms up overhead. This time the palms will meet above the head. Exhale, draw the hands down in front of the heart. We'll take another breath in. And breathing out, bow your head towards your heart, lift your heart towards your head. Offer yourself a little gesture of gratitude for carving out some time and space on your mat today, whatever time of day it is. And thank you for joining me. Namaste.